There's a tear in my beer, 'cause I'm wishing you were here.
Welcome to the edge of nowhere. They're playing games at the edges of what we know. Monster Lore Tour Podcast.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this 73rd edition of the Monster Lore Tour Paranormal Deep Dives from the Edge of Nowhere podcast. I am, as always, your host, Jeremy Carr, here with my co-host and the Carol Ann to my Tangina.
Ooh,
Mr. Matt Ozero, a.k.a. the Moz. How are we doing today, Moz?
The little lady from Poltergeist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't go into the light, Carol Ann.
Yeah.
Don't go into the light.
Yep.
I got to be Tangina today. That's kind of cool. I am doing a Poltergeist story and all.
Yeah, also a great Zeppelin tune.
Don't go into the light on me here, Moz. I need you for this episode. Then you can go wherever the hell you want.
Thanks, I think.
Yeah, you're welcome. Old business. Oh, wait. I actually had something for this. Once again, not truly prepared. Here it is. Yeah, a couple points of old business we actually missed last time. I found my notes finally.
Nice.
But this is from episode 71, my Christmas special from 2 weeks ago.
Wait.
When I ruined Christmas.
Oh, you did.
The fire and water disasters.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Worst Christmases ever.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Christmas disasters, fire and water edition. There
Yeah.
it is. I think that's the title I fell on. In the end, fell on. Hurt myself.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the opening of that episode.
And every story you talked about in that episode.
2 points of old business from that we missed last time. Apologize. One was we weren't sure Cyclone Tracy. We weren't sure if it lined up what category of hurricane it would have been in if it was a hurricane instead of a cyclone.
4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
So the max wind speed that we got for Cyclone Tracy was estimated at 240 kilometers an hour.
That sounds terrible,
That-
but when you actually put into miles per hour.
It comes out to 164.
Yeah, that's the way I would go in a storm with miles per hour,
Mm.
because kilometers out sounds terrible.
Because you're American.
Yeah.
Category 5 starts at 157 miles an hour. So it would have qualified as a Category 5 hurricane. It's like
Wow.
as big as they get.
Wow.
That's some of the probably fastest wind speeds people will ever see.
No, I think as things get hotter,
Well,
I think we're going to creep up on the Richter
Right.
scale.
actually, that's a prediction I've been saying. One of these days, one of these things is going to go off the charts. They're going to be like, should we have a Category 6?
Yeah. Yeah.
And one more other quick point that you actually caught yourself after the episode. You called it Burma. It's now Myanmar.
Myanmar.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Why did
Okay.
Constantinople get the works? It's nobody's business but the Turks.
Yeah.
Beach to it. Thank you. Anywho, we are here to talk about a poltergeist this week. Or maybe a djinn. I don't know. Everything's a djinn now, right?
Gin, man.
But this specifically is what we would refer to as a poltergeist story. We're actually going to dive deep into what is claimed to be the most haunted house in the world. How's that?
Sounds like
It's a good headline, right?
Yep.
This story takes place in the town of Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Yep.
For most of a decade, the Goodin family was plagued by tormenting poltergeist activity within their home.
Mm.
The initial happenings and investigation took place in the mid-1970s, with things left in a rather inconclusive state. But the case was reopened in 2013 by author William J. Hall. This resulted in Mr. Hall publishing the book, The World's Most Haunted House, the true story of the Bridgeport Poltergeist on Lindley Street in 2014. This is the main source of reference for this episode, and here is how Mr. Hall describes the beginning of the story therein. It all started the morning I read a Facebook post on a Bridgeport, Connecticut community page, asking if anyone remembered the house on Lindley Street and the unnatural events that had transpired there. I was intrigued and began reading what newspaper articles I could find that related to the house. There were a large number of reliable witnesses to the proceedings. There were police officers, firemen, priests, neighbors, members of the extended family, reporters, and onlookers. The eerie events had not taken place in some secluded farmhouse miles from the bright lights of civilization. The setting had not been a foreboding mansion hosting a backstory which included an eccentric, deformed owner and decades of unexplainable events. They happened in a small house in a low-income neighborhood in the middle of a city.
In the middle of our street.
A house. Eventually, after reading more than 50 accounts of the haunting on Lindley Street, I was left with more questions than answers.
Like, who would go to Bridgeport?
So further investigation quickly led Mr. Hall to one Boyce Beatty, one of the original investigators of the Lindley Street Poltergeist back in 1974. When contacted, Mr. Beatty told William Hall that he had all the original interview tapes in a box in his basement. That was when this poltergeisty cold case was officially reopened once again. It all began with an average, everyday American couple living an average, everyday American kind of life. Gerard Jerry Goodin and his wife Laura, who owned a modest house in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Jerry was an Air Force vet and working man, a maintenance man at the nearby Harvey Hubble Inc. He never had a chance at much education due to being young during the Great Depression, when work was more important than school.
That's still true.
And it's going to become more true maybe here in a little bit. We'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Laura was a stay-at-home wife, as were the times.
And that's going to happen again, too.
Yeah, she was of Native American descent and was raised in an isolated environment with no other children around. As an adult, this made her socially awkward, preferred her isolation, and her and Jerry were happy living in their little bubble together. They had a few family members they would visit regularly, and some neighbors they definitely listed as friends, but their social circle was small and their desire for public attention was entirely non-existent. They're very private kinds of people. It was just the two of them, and Laura's aging mother, whom they had been caring for full-time in their home for a while, when in 1961 they were surprisingly blessed with their first child.
A changeling.
Well, we'll see what happens. On Halloween Day in 1961, the Goodins welcomed their son Gerard J. Goodin Jr. The baby was always with them, from occupying his crib that was squeezed into their bedroom to weekend shopping trips for always needed supplies of new baby accessories. For a while, all was normal for baby Jerry Jr., but they began to notice the baby's head lolling in a strange way, as though he couldn't hold his own head up properly. By the time Jerry Jr. was 6 months old, there was an obvious problem. They brought him to the doctor and got some upsetting news. Junior had cerebral palsy. This became the focus of the Goodins' life. This is a quote from Jerry Sr. "We did without for him. Anything we could do to please the child, we did. We spoiled him, and yet he wasn't a spoiled child. As long as we were able to, we were going to take care of him, and we would gladly do without." Do you want to read this next passage here, Moss?
Every week, the Goodins took him to a cerebral palsy center for occupational therapy. Unfortunately, the house of Lindley Street posed an unexpected problem. The couple was disqualified from receiving financial assistance for their son's medical expenses because of their living situation. We had to pay for these therapy sessions because we owned our own house, Laura explained. The joys of Medicaid.
Yeah, having a little too much money can be a curse sometimes. But it became a way of life for the Goodins. For the next few years, they took literal constant care of the boy. With the exception of Jerry going to work, they were always with Junior. They took weekend trips with him, made his life as enjoyable as possible, although he was unable to do anything for himself due to his condition. The Goodins loved their son regardless of his condition and never let his need for care become a burden in their eyes. Their whole life was taking care of this child. For the first 4 years of Junior's life, they were also taking care of Laura's aging mother. After that time, her condition worsened to the point that they had no choice but to put her in a facility. She passed 2 years later in 1967. Later that same year, on one of their usual weekend excursions, Junior caught a cold. His condition got really bad, really fast, and Jerry and Laura rushed Junior to the hospital. The doctors found Junior to have a fever of 109. Yeah, I'm pretty sure 110 you're just dead.
I think 109 you're dead.
109 you might be very good chance of dead. But things were not looking good for Junior. They ran every test, tried every treatment they could think of, but his condition made him too weak to fight off the virus. On September 27, 1967, just over a month before what would have been his 6th birthday, Jerry Jr. passed away in the hospital. The Goodins were shaken to their core. The tragedy of losing a child is bad enough on its own. Add to this the situation that they had been taking care of both her mother and their child for years. Their whole life revolved around their loving care for their family, and now that family was all taken from them, and they were left alone with no one left to take care of. The dark void that opened in the Goodins' happy little bubble was immense. They grieved hard for a while, and it pained them to have so much love and no one to give it to. But they had grown too old to have another child of their own. It had taken it a long time to happen in the first place, and they were worried of having another child with a similar condition to Junior with a greatly shortened lifespan. They didn't think they could handle that sort of tragedy again. After conversations with members of their church, however, they found what may be an answer to filling the void. They would adopt a child. In May 1968, just 8 months after the passing of Jerry Jr., the Goodins welcomed a new daughter to the family. Her name was Marcia. She was a little native girl from Canada, bequeathed upon the Goodins as Laura was of a similar heritage. Here is an excerpt from the book regarding Marcia. Marcia was 4.5 years old, born on December 28, 1963. She was the youngest of a family of 9 children and had already lived through difficult times, including being tied to a chair for periods of time. The agency told the Goodins that the family did not want her and had chosen them because Laura's heritage was also Native American, Bohemian, and Cherokee, and they tried to match such similarities when possible. Mother and daughter's dark hair matched each other, although Laura's curled. Marcia clearly was full-blooded Seneca, as Laura would proudly say. The Goodins' greatest fear after the all-too-recent loss of Junior was losing another child, and after the habit of their routine with Junior, literally never letting him out of their sight for years on end, they undertook the same routine with Marcia. Can you please read this next passage for us, please, here, Maz?
In many ways, they were raising Marcia similar to the way they had raised Jerry Jr. Laura walked her to school, carried her books, walked her home for lunch, and walked her back to school again. She wasn't allowed to walk across the street or up to the street to play with anyone for fear that she might die. Marcia was always with her parents, except when Jerry's brother or other close family or friends were watching her. She learned to play alone, liked puzzles and TV, and loved Monopoly. She usually set up multiple players and played the classic game all by herself.
Thank you, Maz. At first they got Marcia into a private Catholic school and things seemed to be okay. Although Marcia was certainly becoming socially awkward like Laura and was very frustrated with both being given up as the 9th child of her original family and by the overbearing helicopter parenting of Laura. It's a tough combination on a kid. Marcia became seriously introverted, bottling her emotions, not making any friends at school, generally stewing in her own mire of melancholic malaise. I think we can all relate on some level these days. Then things got worse. Jerry's hours got cut back. They could no longer afford the fancy private school for Marcia, and she was downgraded to the local public school as not only the new girl, but the new girl that looked different from all the other children. She was immediately ostracized. She was bullied and teased, and it became a daily constant torture routine for Marcia. 70s were a tough time, man. Marcia refused to vent the rage. She stowed it away behind a stoic veneer. Quote, according to experts, this is the prime condition necessary for an invitation for a poltergeist, unquote. At this point, energies in the Goodin house have grown, let's say, complex. The loss of a mother, the loss of a child in the same year, the adoption of an emotionally abused child less than a year later, who is being smothered at home and relentlessly bullied at school. Whew. Marcia had but one friend to speak of in her time in Bridgeport, the daughter of some neighbors on that short list of the Goodins' friends. That friendship was not sparked, however, until about a year after her arrival. So for that first year, Marcia was in a state of pretty much constant emotional torture of one kind or another. With the grief-heavy souls of Jerry and Laura and Marcia's pent-up emotions filling the space, it's no wonder that not long after Marcia's adoption, strange and inexplicable things began to happen in and around the Goodin house. They first noticed the effects in 1968.
Oh, it took them a whole year?
There's a slow progression. It
okay.
builds up over time here,
Yep.
and it's kind of like a volcano in a way.
Ooh.
Yeah. But so they first noticed the effects in 1968. It was all innocuous enough at first, just little things being moved out of place. The Goodins started having, "Who put that over there?" or "When did I move that out of place?" kind of moments. At first, it wasn't frequent enough to notice the pattern, but eventually it became so frequent, there was no longer any denying that something strange was going on. The first real escalation of events took place in 1969. See, there's this build-up. It's this slow build-up. When Marcia and her new and only friend, Rosemarie, were sitting together on the Goodins' couch. Suddenly, Rosemarie's end of the couch began to shake.
How does just half a couch shake?
I know, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the cushion.
Sectional. It's a sectional.
But we're getting to something here. As Rosemarie became more aware of what was happening and more afraid, it slowly began to rise and sway like a plastic bag in the wind, reaching what the book calls, quote, a significant distance into the air, unquote. After a few moments of freak out for the girls, the couch gently swayed back down to the floor, returning to a normal couch position. So one end of the couch is sitting there, and the other end bouncing around, raising way up in the air like a teeter-totter's going on or something, and then floats back down like a leaf.
Dang.
Right? So the girls were understandably rattled by this experience, and no one really gave the story much attention at the time. Just a couple new friends playing make-believe is, probably the general consensus at that point. But it became one of those stories that would carry a much different meaning when looked back upon a few years down the road.
So it was couched in riddles?
Couched in riddles. Yes. For the moment, it was a tale they shared with only the two of them, and that is when the friendship actually really began to take shape. They experienced that together, and then they were like really good friends.
Yeah. Because you got to fight the demiurge kind of thing.
Yeah, and the floating couch wasn't the only weird secret the girls shared. There were times when Rosemarie came to visit that she would find Marcia sitting on the floor of her room, posed as though in some sort of meditation, swaying back and forth, and speaking in some odd language. When Rosemarie asked Marcia what she was doing after coming out of her trance, quote, Marcia said she was talking to her grandfather. She missed him very much and related that he was quite upset about her being away. He was a respected chief on the reservation, and he was extremely unhappy that she had been taken away from him by the Goodins. Marcia explained that whenever she wanted to talk to him, that's how she could do it. Unquote.
Yeah.
So now we have another variable to put into our poltergeist algorithm here. Marcia is apparently astral projecting to speak with her grandfather, who is said to be a chief, and I imagine is some sort of medicine man if he has, convos with his distant granddaughter on the astral plane.
Yeah.
So we have the death of a mother, the death of a child born with a crippling disease on Halloween, remember? He was born on Halloween, Junior. I kind of just said it at the beginning, skimmed by it. He was born on Halloween. Parents with PTSD smothering a bullied child with their own PTSD who can talk with their granddad on the astral plane. And we have things moving around the house inexplicably, as well as a floating couch in the living room.
What it reminds me of is the shaking tent of the shaman. The tent would shake when the shaman went in. When the spirits were around, the tent would shake.
Do you remember how Ford and Arthur got off of prehistoric Earth?
They were in a chair. The
herd of couches came through the portal. And they had to chase it down and jump on the couch running across the field to the next portal.
Yeah, it's like the chest of drawers with Pratchett. He brought that back in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Right, sapient pair.
Couch as portal, Maz.
Couch as portal.
Yeah. We're digressing, though. I didn't miss anything in that equation, right? We did all that. Yeah, okay. We did all the stuff. But we're just getting started here. The activity didn't really start escalating until November 1971. This is when Jerry first started hearing the banging. A strange, intermittent banging in the walls.
That was really in a row.
Sorry, that was me.
Yeah, no, but you got to do like intermittent, meant like. Should have done it that way. Yeah.
Well, it came and went in time at different times, I believe, is what.
Yeah, so we're both right.
Yes, we're probably both right. We're probably both right. Because
that's the way I always feel about it.
Why would they keep a beat when they're trying to torture you? They got to be all crazy about it. But Jerry was a handyman, so this sort of problem was actually in his wheelhouse. What would cause such a banging in the walls?
The pipes.
He checked for problems with the HVAC, the plumbing, the foundation. He even tore holes in the walls to check for trapped animals behind the drywall.
Yeah, rats in the walls, H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, nothing. Found nothing. There was no explicable reason in the house to explain the odd banging, and it was becoming more frequent and persistent as time went on. And louder, apparently. Jerry's first call to the police was in November of 1971. He was at that point convinced that the noise was being caused by some outside source. There was a big construction project in the area that was Jerry's first main suspect. Not only the police, but the fire department, county inspectors, all kinds of local authorities eventually got involved to try to figure out the now incessant banging that everyone who was interested could hear in the Goodin's house with just a bit of patience. It was happening frequently enough. Jerry even got it on tape so he could play it for people off premises to see if they had any ideas of a source. Nothing was ever found to explain the banging.
Now, when did John Bonham die? I'm just trying to connect this.
I don't know. You're saying it was that Moby Dick in their walls?
That's where I'm going.
Jerry would later say, quote, "First it lasted over a month. I thought I was crazy. It started just before the disturbance came into the house."
The disturbance.
Unquote. Inflection mine on that, by the way. For years, Jerry became more and more unhinged every time the banging would start again. Just as the volume and tenacity of the banging grew, and his building rage had its effects on Laura's and Marcia's emotional states in turn, all just exacerbating their already bad enough PTSDs. There were stretches of time when the banging would stop, for weeks at a time, maybe even some months. But every November, always in November, the banging would start again. Each time grinding down harder on the Goodins' nerves. It got bad enough that it was a taboo subject amongst the Goodins. Jerry, Laura, and Marcia would all tense up every time the banging started, every time changing the mood in the house, but they were no longer allowed to speak of it. Outwardly, they applied the, quote, "ignore it until it goes away" strategy.
Yeah.
You know? Some would say this continued repression of emotion over the years, piled on top of all their pre-existing stuff, helped make things worse over time, leading to the events of November 1974. when the volcano goes off. Over the years between November 1971 and November 1974, the weird moving around of little things, the inexplicable banging, odd, sort of ephemeral things like that were happening regularly in the Goodin house. Nothing ever big enough to really declare a problem, but always just enough to keep them on the hairy edge of their individual and collective sanities. Wow, this does sound like a djinn.
Yeah. No, it does.
But in November of 1974, it was like something previously restrained was finally let loose. The Goodin house exploded into a whole new level of poltergeisty happenings. Oh, did they just hit the 100-year mark?
Well, the thing I was going to say is these big gaps we talked about with the djinn, is sometimes they're just sleeping.
Yeah.
It's like a nap.
Yeah.
But this is happening annually, so it's probably more to do with the date.
You're going to have to cover that in the theory section. I didn't even come up with that till right now in real time. How much this is Ginny. I wasn't thinking about it when I was writing it.
No.
With the never-resolved investigation into the now locally famous banging in the Goodin house, Jerry and Laura had become familiar and friendly with a number of the local police officers and firemen. Though not very social people, Jerry and Laura were known by all who knew them to be genuine, friendly, honest, loving, all those things that people say about nice people.
Yeah. Who turn out to be serial killers.
Well, you never know. Well,
like
they weren't.
Nice
those guys are always, they were quiet and kept to themselves.
Oh, yeah. Like true Mausers.
And that's the thing. The Goodins aren't like, they're just not very social, but like their neighbors all knew them and liked them. They had people over. They had friends outside the neighborhood from church and stuff. Like they went to church and they went to work and they took care of their family. Like,
yeah,
it's not that they didn't like people. It's just they never went out anywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the way it was. People didn't hit restaurants every day back then.
And there was no social media. There was no internet in the 70s. You know what I mean? That was, if you didn't go out, you didn't meet people.
It was anti-social media.
Yeah, anti-social media, man. That's our next podcast.
I like it.
It's a great title.
I will never go to it, but I love it.
Yeah. I hate it, but it's great.
Yeah.
And through all the strangeness, the Goodins had always been considered level-headed and honest by those they discussed the strangenesses with. That is why it came as such a shock when the police received a different kind of call from the Goodins on Sunday, November 24th, 1974. The original resulting police report begins as follows. You want to read this bit for me, Mouse?
At 10:11 a.m., RCG 35 was detailed to Lindley Street on a report of strange activity going on inside the house. This is an older one-family, one-story structure, 4 rooms. On arrival, Patrolman Joseph Tomek and Carl Leonzi observed the inside of the house in disarray. Furniture, pictures, religious articles, personal belongings, etc. were thrown about in all rooms except one. Mr. Gerard Goodin, age 56, his wife Laura, age 50, and their adopted daughter, Marcia, age 10, were present.
Turns out the Goodins had been having one hell of a weekend. The sort of weekend people make podcasts about.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. So let's start at the beginning. Friday, November 22nd, 1974.
A van pulls up and 2 kegs get out of the... That's the way with it. This is 70s.
St. Anke's Brew.
Yeah.
So this is 2 days before the call to the police, okay? It began as a typical evening for the Goodins. Jerry got home from work, washed up, and joined the ladies at the kitchen table for dinner. They then moved together to the living room to try to relax, something that had become more and more difficult in the Goodin house as of late, but try they would, with some reclining in front of the TV. They had a very small living room, by the sound of things, but they got 3 big cushy recliners to fill it up. They spent a lot of their time in their respective recliners. They were like the 3 bears with their recliners, you know?
Yeah. Lazy boy and girls.
Yeah. Soon after settling in, however, they all turned as one toward odd sounds coming from the hall. Odd noises were nothing new to the Goodins, but this was not the typical torturous, deafening banging that had been building to ever louder crescendos over the past months and years. This was something different. With hesitant steps, they moved to the bedroom to see from whence the ruckus was arising. They found a disturbance at the master bedroom window. The shade had been rolled up. The Goodins kept the shades down at night, and the curtains were in a heap on the floor. This wasn't all that threatening, but it was disconcerting that the oddness was taking new forms. Jerry and Laura righted the curtains and pulled down the shade. Satisfied things were back in order, they headed back toward their recliners. But before they even got out of the room, the shade snapped up and the curtain rod jumped again from its brackets, heaping the curtains on the floor once more. Finding it that way initially was one thing, but witnessing the stuff jumping around on its own like that firsthand was almost more than Laura and Jerry could stand at this point. They shook their heads, turned their backs, and leaving the shade and curtains where they apparently preferred to be, they went back to the living room.
Do you think?
Ignore it till it goes away? You think that'll work?
Well, what if this thing is just like, it's a relative going, you guys need some exercise. Get up those stairs. Get off those recliners. I mean, that's what I think relatives of mine would do to me.
So you keep adding to the theories list. I don't have the mother on the theory list either. Maybe it's the mother.
Mother's like, get up. Come on, guys.
I'll give a little something away. A lot of people say, Junior's ghost. We'll get into the details on that later.
Yes, because
I didn't see a theory on the mother's ghost. Maybe the mother's coming back and like, get off your ass, get out of the house, do something.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, though, it's shades.
Put it on the list.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't long before the house rattled their nerves once more. The incessant knocking they had all come to constantly dread, but always expected to hear, started up once more. This time somehow worse than before. This from William Hall's book. It would be maddening, knocking, gently and slowly, rhythmic in the beginning, gradually building to a crescendo of rapid, ear-splitting, timber-shaking, banging, thumping, pounding. Once begun, it worked its way through its predictable, though ever-disturbing routine. It was as if the very soul of the structure was working itself up into a fit of rage, becoming louder and louder, more and more powerful, asserting itself as the new head of the household. Jerry and Laura had each used the descriptor of intelligent in referring to it. The implication was frightening, as well as fully unexplainable, irrational even. And yet, what else was there? It was a concept they would need to face more directly very soon. Slowly the noise grew louder as the pounding became increasingly more determined. Laura's anxiety grew, but she would not move from her chair. Marcia sat frozen to the large braided rug. Jerry tried to hide his feelings of uncertainty, fear, trepidation, and frustration. This noise had become his nemesis, one he feared he could not beat. How does one face or defeat that which will not show itself? Presently he gave in and covered his ears against the noise the way the others had from the outset. A few minutes later it simply stopped the way it always stopped, which created an eerie rather than comforting silence. Jerry took a deep breath, indicating both relief and perhaps despair. He stood and clicked off the TV.
So it does have an element of both. I feel Edgar Allan Poe-y.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Poe.
Telltale Heart.
Maybe that's why I picked that passage.
but it's also little Ginny. Those that remain hidden.
You brought something up. It's going to be hard to ignore.
Yeah,
in a lot of the stuff.
You brought up Gin. Did I bring up Gin?
Gin is just the last episode.
Okay.
It's easy to lose track when
we're
recording randomly in chunks. But yeah, Gin was just last episode. The Gin cut me up into random chunks once, put me back together. Seemed to still be here. What does that mean?
It doesn't mean you had the right Gin, really.
Damn it. But that's how the weekend began in the Goodin house. It may not seem like much more than usual with the banging going on for so long, but there was a definite sense of escalation in the actions of that night. The Goodins felt their stress meters creeping up to 11.
Did you add that for Spinal Tap purposes?
I added that for you, Maz.
Oh, thank you.
The next day, things got very much worse.
12?
Saturday, November 23rd. Well, this is when they hit 11.
Oh, okay.
Saturday, November 23rd, 1974. Chaos comes to Lindley Street. It started as a wonderful day for the Goodin family. They awoke with plans to take a day trip out to the country, hit mass at the little church out there, go spend the afternoon with Jerry's cousin, who was a real good friend of theirs, and do some leisurely shopping on the way home. It was one of their favorite ways to spend a Saturday, And with the events of the night before, it was the perfect thing to get their minds off their worries. Everything went splendidly on their trip, but they had to come home sometime.
Yeah. Terrible idea.
Yeah. The dog bounced happily in the backyard as their car approached, and Jerry and Laura had a bit of a spring in their step as they carried the grocery bags into the kitchen. Then things started to get weird. After dropping his bags in the kitchen, Jerry checked the bedrooms and found Marcia's TV, a weighty thing that sat up on a shelf.
They were weighty tube-type TVs.
This is actually an important point throughout this episode.
Okay.
1970s tube televisions
were very heavy.
in big wooden boxes.
Yes.
Real wood.
Yeah.
Very heavy.
Yeah.
Not
I
easy to
carried
move
them back
around.
in the day.
And breakable.
Yes.
If they fell over, they were toast.
Yes.
Okay? Just for anyone younger than us out there.
And even though he said vacuum, it never cleaned anything.
Oh, yeah. The
vacuum tubes.
The vacuum tubes.
Yeah, they were different.
Yeah.
They were terrible.
Yeah, they always took out all the air out of the situation. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
The vacuum tubes. Yeah. No. Yeah. This is why Maz gets to do most of the jokes.
I was trying to follow you there.
Someone out there got that. If the paranormalists are listening, some of them got that. But then things started getting weird. After dropping his bags in the kitchen, Jerry checked the bedrooms and found Marcia's TV, a weighty thing that sat up on a shelf, was laying screened down on her bed, the plug and antenna wires having been yanked out of the wall. So like we said, not a lot of fun moving these things around. Fragile. Yeah. Upon righting the TV and plugging it all back in, it resumed normal function. No breakage of screen or tubes in the mysterious fall. Suspicious all around.
This is Marcia's room.
This is in Marcia's room.
Okay.
It was all rather odd, Jerry thought.
And Marcia's still, like, very young.
She's like 10.
10. Okay. She's not carrying that shit.
She's not super young anymore, but she's the little kid still.
Smallest TV,
she's
that
not
era,
12
she's not
yet,
carrying
right?
that.
She's not a tweener yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was all rather odd, Jerry thought, as he walked back into the kitchen, at which point he was viciously ambushed by his own flatware.
Ooh.
Back in the kitchen, Jerry found a cowering, screaming Laura and a flying flock of flatware. The plates from which they usually ate their food were now flying around the kitchen, dive-bombing Jerry and Laura's heads like some crazed birds from a Hitchcock movie.
Flying saucers.
As the plates began to smash themselves against things, reducing the threat they could impose, things escalated once again. Somebody called in the cutlery.
Wow.
They had a wooden knife block screwed into the wall above the counter, and 4 of the big sharp ones leapt from the block, flew in formation straight at Jerry's face.
Oh, great.
Thanks to some quick evasive maneuvers, Jerry wasn't badly injured as the knives thunked into the wall behind him. He went to check the wooden knife block, and as he reached toward it, it yanked itself from the wall, long screw and all, and flew at his chest. Mm-hmm. This time, this is a good move, Jerry caught his attacker in his hands before it could ram him in the chest. Once in his hands, it seemed a totally normal block of wood.
Yeah.
Laura began to scream again, and Jerry turned to see the kitchen table flipping itself fully over the long way, throwing eggs and other groceries around the kitchen, and ending up propped crookedly on some chairs with its legs sticking up in the air like a dead cockroach.
Does this one, Lorraine and Ed Warren?
I do want to note, we'll talk about them as we go. I do want to note, this isn't happening quite as quickly as I'm saying. Like, they clean up the plates.
Yeah.
So and then the table flips.
Right, okay.
And they right the table, and he goes outside to get more groceries.
Right.
And then it was the refrigerator's turn.
Mm.
Here's a quote. Before Laura could begin contemplating what had just happened, the 300-pound refrigerator slowly started to slide and rise, hovering a good 6 inches off the floor. It rotated to the right a quarter turn, then lowered itself slowly back to the floor, standing at an odd angle, as if to make sure everyone would see it was out of place, unquote.
Nice.
Floating and gently lowering like...
No.
The plates break themselves. The big heavy thing just floats easy, settles back down.
Like the couch earlier. Yeah.
Like the couch earlier, yes. As Laura tried to retreat from the flying horror circus that was once so recently their kitchen, the large floor model TV they kept in the kitchen, a big heavy sucker in one of those big heavy wooden cabinets, fell forward, screened down, and landed on Laura's foot, shattering a couple of her toes. Like, bloody scene at this point. Bloody. We talked about how big and heavy these things are. This led to more screaming and the addition of spurting blood to the list of chaotic things, all happening at once right now. It seems the Goodin's house had just declared war on its owners.
Yeah.
Things thankfully quieted after that, giving Jerry a chance to see to Laura's wounds and get the giant mess that was now their kitchen cleaned up. The episode,
I mean, most people are in a motel by now.
Tenacious. They're tenacious.
No, I don't know if that's the word I would use. I would be in a motel.
Yeah.
Yep. Didn't work for the Poltergeist people, but I would still have tried that.
Right. After the years of slowly building pressure, these energies were erupting. Oh, there's my volcano reference. I forgot I even wrote that in there. Mm-hmm. And the night wasn't over. As they once again tried to have a normal evening, the kitchen table insisted that it should really be stored in an upside-down position.
Yeah.
It was very insistent about it.
Yeah.
Flipping itself legs up every time Jerry tried to set it back upright.
So the ghost was turning the table.
It happened repeatedly throughout. Like, he'd stand it back up.
Dang.
Like, 2 minutes later, flip back over.
Yeah.
Go and set it back up. 5 minutes later, flip back over. Playing a game with them, man. Just messing with them. Then the other new favorite trick started repeating. Marcia's TV was jumping off its shelf onto her bed like a high diver practicing for an upcoming meet. Every time it got put back up on its platform, whoop, there it goes diving off again.
Yeah.
Not to be left out, the bathroom decided to get in on the fun. When Marcia went to do her business during a commercial break, everything that wasn't screwed down in the bathroom, including the steel shower curtain rod, towel rod, there was suddenly, the top of the toilet tank, were all suddenly flying around like there was a tornado in the room with her or something. Marcia was struck by a number of random objects as she covered her head and ran from the room.
This would never have happened if they've gone to a motel.
If Marcia had gone straight to the police, this
never
would have
happened. Yeah. Very Woody Woodpecker.
They had no answers. All they could think to do was clean up the messes as they happened and hope that tomorrow would be better.
So a motel never popped into their brains. Okay.
Well, they're a poor family, too. It really.
Oh, yeah. They didn't even go out to eat.
Yeah,
they stayed there.
Yeah, they went
this
to
is
church.
Their home.
And they went to, like, other people's houses or had people in their house. Like, that's all they did.
No, I get it. That was the time.
So, yeah, like, they might not even have that in their brain because they wouldn't be able to afford it anyway.
Yeah.
In the 70s, you got to think 1974. That's not a great economic time in America to begin with.
Yeah. 2027, same idea.
But as far as tomorrow being better, that unfortunately would not be the case. This brings us to Sunday, November 24th, 1974, the day the poltergeist went public, the day of the infamous police call.
So the poltergeist broke the story and turned them in, and the family was arrested.
I'll give you one guess who called the press. You don't have to make it now.
It was...
You mentioned him earlier.
The Warrens.
Ed Warren.
Yeah.
I have a problem with them in a way. We'll get into that a little bit later. I don't do grudges and bad juju on the podcast, but funny how as soon as they show up, so does the press. Every time.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, isn't it? But anywho, let's get back to Sunday, November 24th, 1974, when this poltergeist volcano erupted for reals. When Jerry went to make the morning coffee, he once again found the kitchen table flipped over on the top of the chairs, and the refrigerator had apparently taken it upon itself to stand guard duty because it was out of place again. Actually, it was now completely blocking access to the back door. Just like floated over to the back. I just probably wanted to look out the window, get a view. You know, it must be boring, refrigerator, just looking at the same room all the time. Jerry once again righted everything, this time shortening the table by pulling the center leaf. I don't know why it took that many flips to make the thing smaller. At least it wouldn't have as much impact at that point. As Jerry was completing his cleanup in the kitchen, Laura was getting a similar good morning from the poltergeist in the bedroom. She watched in horror.
That was suggestive, but go ahead.
Oh, I guess, see, phrasing. We got to watch our phrasing around here. We're both bad about that sometimes.
We are.
But she watched in horror as a crucifix and a framed picture of Jesus both ripped themselves from the wall, hanging nails and all. Yeah. Not just coming off the nails, took the nails with it and threw themselves to the floor.
Yeah.
It's like, now it's getting personal. Now we're going after you, Jesus. Because these guys go to church like 3 times a week. They're real church-going people. So in this house, to attack the portrayals of Jesus, this is when the house was really going to war with them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in the living room, the 3 heavy-duty model recliners started practicing an apparent dance routine, with the TV chiming out the rhythm like a deranged doorbell.
It was in sync. There was a sync.
No, that was Justin Timberlake.
Oh, well, you know what I meant. So there was a orchestrated point to
yes, this. It's almost like they would all kind of happen at once and then stop, and everything would happen at once and stop.
Like they were playing musical chairs.
Yeah, but like the furniture would literally just start dancing around for a while and then stop.
Right.
Laura was beyond her limit. In terror and shock, she grabbed the phone and called the first people that came to mind. Their good friends, the Hoffmans, parents of Marcia's friend Rosemary, and literally screamed into the phone for help. Harold jumped in the car and sped to Lindley Street as Mary called the Bridgeport police. In the meantime, the Goodins abandoned ship, running for their lives out onto the front lawn. As they yelled to a passing neighbor out walking their dog for help, they all turned to the house to watch the couch on the front porch start practicing its backup routine for the recliner dancers in the living room. See, everything's dancing around at once. It seemed the furniture of the Goodin house had set up a flash mob without the Goodins knowing.
Thank God they didn't have a lot of gnomes and flamingos on the lawn. That's all I could think
Remember
of.
flash mobs? Those were weird.
Oh, they're coming
What was that, the 2000s, 2010s? That was a while ago. The dog walker witnessing this was the daughter of one of the police officers that had been dealing with the Goodin situation over the years, so she ran home and told her dad what was happening. He immediately ran to investigate. When he entered the house, he found literally everything out of place. From the heaviest furniture to the little knickknacks, everything was out of place. Upside down, turned askew, on its side, some stuff broken, shattered, but mostly just kind of tossed around.
Yeah.
Scattered, just enough so you know something's wrong. After taking it all in, he straightened the crooked TV in the living room that had been spun off center on its TV stand. As he walked away, it spun itself back into the same skewed position as he initially found it. He watched it move. Quote, "This looks like a poltergeist," he said.
Dun, dun.
This is a police officer.
Yeah.
And that is when the bubble burst, and the Goodin house became the focus of the whole town's attention, and even beyond. Within a few hours, the cops were swarming over the place. Fire trucks were parked out front. A crowd of curious onlookers was gathering on the street. You got to remember, no internet, like 3 television channels, 5 if you had a really good antenna.
Yeah.
So not a lot to do. When you see every cop in town swarming to a house, people would just go over there and be like, what's going on?
Yeah. Terrible idea.
And when one of their neighbors caught wind of what was happening, one Mary Pascarella, who just happened to be a card-carrying member of the local psychic research center, she put in a call to the people she thought of first.
Ed and Lorraine.
Warren.
Yep.
Yes, Maz, there you go. You called it. The Warrens immediately assigned themselves to the case, and as was Ed Warren's standard MO, put in an immediate call to the press, because they have to be there when he shows up for the photo op, you know. The circus had come to Lindley Street. Throughout the day, the poltergeist continued ransacking the house, and a team of paranormal investigators was pieced together from the initial responders. You had the Warrens, as well as a priest, Father Charbonneau,
which is also going to be the Wolfman Puck segment.
Ooh. And a young seminary student, Paul Eno. I like that guy. He's going to come up again later. The police and fire departments maintained a presence at the house, but the paranormal was not in their jurisdiction. They were there to factor out any real-world type explanations for everything, and for crowd control as the neighborhood quickly filled with more and more looky-loos, rubberneck lions, and nosy Nancys. Over the coming days, the crowd on Lindley Street would swell to as many as 10,000 people. 10,000 people on Lindley Street.
Woodstock.
Kinda, for a little place like that, it would feel like it almost, and become a real problem for the police, trying to keep the roads clear and members of the mob from trying to break into the Goodin house or even burn the place down.
Now, wait,
these people were crazy.
Is there 10,000 people even in Connecticut? Jeez. I mean, I've been there. It doesn't seem like that many to me.
I'm wondering if in 1974, like how big of an area you needed people to come from to get 10,000 people in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it's not a tiny town, but that was in the 1970s. Yeah, like middle of Connecticut. There's not that many people centralized in very many places at all.
Yep. I take the ferry from Port Jeff.
But some of these people, like, they would try to steal stuff off the porch. They would come, like, just walk in the door if it wasn't locked and be like, hey, I'm here to help you, and things like that. And, like, people try and, like, some people, like, throw stuff at them and, like, tried to burn their house down because they thought it was evil. And, like, I mean, they were just getting assailed on all sides emotionally and just, like, psychologically.
But it didn't matter
potentially
to them
physically.
They were at the motel. They were fine.
Well, no, they're still no's. They went back to the
house.
I
mean in my family's.
In your version, yeah. I'd be sleeping in my hammock in the woods if I couldn't afford a motel at this point.
Yep.
But meanwhile, however, the officers and investigators at the Goodin house on Sunday the 24th were given quite a show by the poltergeist. They all witnessed inexplicable oddities. Floating furniture, chairs flying into the air with people sitting in them, particularly Marcia. She'd be sitting in a chair, the heavy recliner in the living room, just flip itself over with her sitting in it. I think we mentioned this again. TVs falling over so slowly, they look like they are being gently lowered by caring hands. These big, heavy TVs just slowly lowering onto their screens. Other things being violently thrown to the ground. The Goodins were unable to serve a meal to their guests, for they watched as the remaining flatware, was obliterated almost down to the last saucer into little shards of uselessness. The whole house seemed to have come alive like some real-life scene from The Sorcerer's Apprentice. One of the oddest things about it all were the apparent distortions of sound during the happenings. This is a weird point. Large, heavy things would fall to the floor, and even if they were falling fast, without making a sound. This happened repeatedly, and there were other times when something would fall with a far louder sound than expected. No one had an explanation. It made the whole thing notably more unnerving for them once they noticed this strange effect. They all witnessed these things. There wasn't a person among them who came out of that house thinking it was fake. This is police, firemen, neighbors, priests, investigators. All these people, not a single one of them would have told you it was a fake. Every last one of them. The crowd in the street even witnessed 2 large cement swans on the front porch move around on their own. Once again, I think they're planning a flash mob. Hundreds of people all witnessed this simultaneously. Hundreds of people outside the house witnessed it all at once. Right. Oh my God, look at that. And oh my God. Yeah. There was no debunking these events. The Goodins had themselves a real live grade A down-home poltergeist. That's why I love this case right now. Over the coming days, the circus continued. The poltergeist seemed to calm down after its big debut weekend, but though less intense and frequent, the happenings continued, and the investigators and police were there to continue witnessing it all. The Goodin house was effectively an active crime scene being invaded by a criminal no one could stop or even identify. There is one thing that got identified as a sort of marker for the events. On top of the TV in the kitchen was
a penguin. No, that was python.
Was a vase of pink plastic flowers. They began to notice that these flowers would start twitching around as though blowing in an imaginary breeze just before the bigger stuff would start happening, like the 300-pound refrigerator floating across the kitchen a foot off the ground.
A trigger event, yeah.
Yeah, like it would be ding, 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 the little flower bouncing in the cup, and all of a sudden something would flip over, slide across the room, or fly at your head.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Through it all, Marcia did as a child would do, and at times was caught trying to impersonate the poltergeist by tipping something over or suddenly tipping her chair back when she thought no one would notice her causing it. She was getting used to a lot of extra attention with all the extra people around. She was like the cops would play board games with her and firemen would talk to her and stuff. She's kind of excited about it.
But the thing as a kid, you could just break anything you want and be like, yep, that just happened. That really just happened.
But as a child will do, when she felt that attention lagging, she would try to pull the eyes back to her. No one directly involved in the investigation believed this to show it was all being faked by Marcia. When you see her sitting in the living room as the 300-pound refrigerator dances around the kitchen, off the ground, you can pretty much rule out the kid doing it. You know? At least not knowingly.
Yeah.
That'll come up again in the theory section. But when this tidbit of info got out to the police, higher-ups as well as the press, it turned into headlines like, "Haunting hoax, child fakes floating furniture."
Yeah, they debunked it via the one.
I just made that up. But
you get the idea. The kid did something, and that becomes the Scully Muggles saying.
One time they see her like trying to tip her chair backwards, and they're like, hey, knock that off.
Isn't it interesting? Potentially dozens, maybe hundreds of people, and one Scully Muggle. The Scully Muggles go with the kid obviously did one of these, so it's all explainable. And
we'll get more into this in the wrap-up sections and whatnot, but there's a huge list of the recorded events. The police and they wrote down everything they saw. There's over 100 of them listed in the book alone, and that's not even all of them. That's just samples because they like skipped the repeats of things and whatnot. And for most of them, Marcia wasn't even around.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was like in the other room, like for most of them, like maybe 3 of them, she managed to like, oh, something had just happened there. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But like, there's no way.
What if she dug a tunnel to make those cement swans on the lawn move? Like she's 11. Kids like tunnels.
Maybe she was the reincarnation of Nikola Tesla with all memories from the previous life, and she set up some kind of energy thing.
It was a Tesla coil.
Yeah, and
that's what I would have done.
Yeah, she opened the interdimensional portal or something.
Yeah.
But anywho, the police department, desperate for a way out of this paranormal nightmare, officially closed the case on Tuesday, November 26th, deeming it all a hoax perpetrated by a distraught child.
But the police reports exist, so what do we have as far as...
They filed it away under good riddance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they did.
The G-files.
It'll come back up in 2013, which is where the book came from. So we'll get...
Jackie Kennedy said we're going to get those files.
It's actually one of the cool things about this book, for anyone who's really interested in this story. They have the full-on... Like, we quoted the first paragraph of the police report. They have all the police reports that actually got written about this in the book.
Wow.
As an appendix kind of thing.
That's crazy.
With that list of the over 100 thing, I think it's like 104, 105 different events that happened in the house witnessed by authorities who took note at the time, the investigators, the police and whatnot. It's all in the book. It's a great book. If you're really interested in more, you always got to do kind of a summation when you're doing the podcast style. If this intrigues you, get William J. Hall's book, The World's Most Haunted House, because one of my favorite books I've read for the podcast at this point.
Nice. Nice.
Like, you can't deny this, dude.
Yeah.
But, so where was I?
Connecticut.
Oh, filed it under good riddance because they blamed it on the kid. It's sad. The press was all too happy to back them up on this story. I mean, you saw how easy of a headline that was, right? Yeah. Haunting hoax, child fakes floating furniture. Like, how do you resist that? Those involved in the investigation were left deeply unsatisfied. They knew the hoax thing was bunk. The hoax was a hoax, man.
Yeah.
But the damage had been done. Jerry and Laura were supremely peeved about how it had all gone down. They were upset with the press for publicly scapegoating Marcia. They were upset with the Warrens for calling the press to begin with. They were tired of the crowds outside watching their house day and night, some of them trying to break in, burn the place down like we were talking about. They were upset with the police for deeming it all a hoax after so many of them witnessed these things and testified to their authenticity. Yeah. They were pretty much done with everyone being in their house, being in their lives, and they really just wanted them all to go the hell away at this point.
Right.
Get the beak out of my house.
And that's when Dad grabs the axe from the shed.
Yeah. And that's when it turns into a murder scene. And now it's true crime. No, we're staying with the ghost, or poltergeist. I'm not even going to call it a ghost. It's a different thing to me at this point. Keep giving my secrets away before we get to it. Thankfully, as the investigation wound down, so did the poltergeist. By the end of November, it seemed the Goodins might be given a bit of peace, at least for a while. The crowds had departed, but the police maintained a presence on Lindley Street, as an occasional crackpot looking to do something crackpotty to the Goodin house would still come around regularly enough. But officially, there would be no more police responding to calls about poltergeists at the Goodin house, as the case was officially closed. If someone was breaking in, they'll come for that, but no more weird stuff, man.
Right. Yeah.
That was all well and good, until the night of December 10th. It was then that Laura was once again chased from her own home by an onslaught of poltergeist activity. She ran up to the patrol car outside and, quote, in a state of panic, she related to Officer Joseph Siemens that the old things were happening again. Pieces of furniture were moving and overturning. The stereo, the sewing machine, the TV, the table, the chairs. It all happened at once, while Laura and Marcia had huddled together in the middle of the living room. And round we go. But at this point, the police had tied their own hands and couldn't do anything for them. The Goodins went to stay with friends for a bit while they figured out how to move forward. So they finally took the Ma's advice and got the hell out of there, went and stayed with friends, because, nobody could afford a hotel in 1974 living in a neighborhood that.
I said motel, just for the record.
Hotel, motel, Holiday Inn.
Well, I'm saying motels are cheaper even back in the day.
Mm-hmm. But they started trying to think of other ways to approach this. They contacted their priest, not Father Charbonneau. He was brought in by the Warrens, as was Paulino, the seminary student. So those guys are out. This time the Goodins contacted their own priest, Father Doyle. Always call an Irishman if you need a priest. And he came to see them on December 13th. It was then that the investigation into the poltergeist was unofficially begun again. Father Doyle began inquiring about a church-sanctioned exorcism for the Goodin house.
I prefer those unsanctioned exorcisms.
Oh, yeah, the fast and loose exorcisms.
If you need one of those, call us.
Please don't. Call Alex Bone.
Unless, if you have a tube television set, call Alex Bone. Yes. We can move the little flat screens.
You can inquire. You can inquire with us, and we will inquire with Alex Bone, but we can make no promises.
Yeah.
Because if anyone in this group is an exorcist, it's Alex Bone.
No, anyone can move a tube TV. It's Alex Bone is what I was getting.
That's true, too. He's like 7.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
That's an exaggeration, but, it feels like it sometimes.
Yeah. 6'7". 6'9".
6'9"?
6'9".
6'9"?
Yeah.
I just call him 7 feet because at that point it doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah.
On December 16th, the Goodins were contacted by a man by the name of Boyce Beatty, a professional paranormalist. The Goodins were happy to have some fresh faces with qualifications coming into the mix, and they welcomed Mr. Beatty's offer to help with their poltergeist problem. On December 18th, the new investigative team assembled at the Goodin house. This crew of paranerdalists included Boyce Beatty, a fellow of the American Society for Psychical Research, and Blue Harari and Jerry Solfin, Solfvin, Solfin, representing the Psychical Research Foundation. I mean, I don't think they'd mind the term paranerdalists being applied, do you?
I'm just thinking, so you got the Warrens and the Beattys.
No, they're kicked out. They're done. That original team, all done. They're not talking to any of those people.
The song was about him, is what I'm saying. That's why you're so vain.
You think this song is about you?
Yes.
Don't you?
I do.
Don't you?
I do. That's what I'm saying.
This is when the real scientific investigation into the Bridgeport Poltergeist began. This is actually the real investigation. This is when it gets good. This is where all the documentation in the book comes from, really. First, they spoke directly with all private parties involved in the experiences. This was the Goodins, the Warrens, the priests, neighbors, anyone they could find that had witnessed and or previously investigated the events. When it came to speaking with the more official types involved, however, the police officers, firefighters, city inspectors, and who's nots, they determined that they'd have to open some sort of official communication with the police department. They couldn't just go sneaking around trying to talk to these guys.
And that's when they started the X-Files.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right. It's a good time as ever. Don't do that. It's like... No, you're doing Close Encounters. Oh, yeah.
Am I mixing my sci-fi metaphors?
You kind of did both.
I can't actually do the song because, copyrights and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, you were trying to do it different. Good.
Yeah. But for these guys, going in, their hopes were low. But turned out the police in person, in this case, were far different than the police in the press. Turns out the officer in charge of the case, one Inspector Clark, who was essentially the chief of the local police department, they just called him Inspector, had personally witnessed some of the inexplicable happenings at the Goodin house. And he was as anxious as anyone to figure out what in the Sam Hill was going on over there.
Yeah, it's a good question.
The good inspector was thrilled that a competent private party was looking to reopen the case. He would support the effort on a couple of conditions. One, this would be completely off book. No use of official resources, no official reopening of the case.
Right.
2, no word to the press. Any stories of the case being actively reinvestigated getting printed in the papers, what people in the 20th and now 21st century called their news feed, and all backs would immediately be turned on them.
So everything you do from now on is a breach of contract from here to the end of the episode.
Right.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, it's like,
you can't even follow the dang contract.
If you get caught, we do not know you.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing it.
Oh, I'm doing it?
Yeah, you're saying the rest of this, even though it says no word to the press.
I'm a rebel, man.
All right.
What do you want from me?
I'm just saying.
I'm a monster lore tour guide. I go places you're not supposed to go all the time.
Good point. Well said, sir.
In return, he offered everything the new team was looking for. Open access to all the officers and other local officials who were on site for the strangeness at the Goodin house. And a word to all of them that this was off book, no record or retribution in the department. Anything you say will definitely not be used against you later. The higher-ups are never going to hear this.
Amen.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
So let's figure this damn thing out was pretty much the approach at this point. So Beatty's team got to work recording interviews with all the officers who bore witness to the events. This data gathering was all well and good, but it wasn't until December 27th, 9 days after the new team first arrived on the scene, that they would get to see the happenings for themselves. It was that day, December 27th, at 12:15 a.m., just 15 minutes into Marcia's 11th birthday. She's now a tweener.
There you go.
That the poltergeist again returned in force. When Marcia went to use the bathroom just after midnight, the whole room went nuts. This is kind of like what happened before. Shelves in the back of the toilet started flying around, flinging loose bottles and containers of bathroom things everywhere. And when Jerry rescued Marcia from the fray and walked her back to her room, the pictures there were rattling on the walls. No one got a lot of sleep that night.
So this is about not adopting. Is that what the story's about?
No.
Oh.
It's about don't torture children, man. Let them live a life.
Gotcha.
The next morning was actually, I don't even think it's about that in the end. A lot of people blame the kid all the time with this because of Nandor, Fodor, and all that. We'll get into that also later, but I have a totally different tack on this.
Is this when he talks to Simon Pegg, who's a weasel or something?
No, Simon Pegg talked to the mongoose.
Yeah, the mongoose.
In our case, Nandor was talking to Alma Fielding back in episode 26, but we're going to get into all that
But
later.
Nandor's from What We Do in the Shadows. No, I'm just kidding.
He's named after the Nandor Fodor from the
Nice.
Paranormal Investigations.
Gotcha.
The next morning was no better. Jerry went to the kitchen to make coffee and found the poltergeist had been up to all the old tricks of toppled tables and twisted TVs and whatnot. A little later, there was another dance battle between the couches and recliners. You know, a standard type afternoon in the most haunted house in the world kind of stuff going on.
There you go.
Interestingly, the only time for the next couple of days that the happenings ceased was during Marcia's actual birthday party. Everything was fine while the guests were there, but I'm sure they could feel the prickles on the backs of their necks just waiting on the hairy edge of their last nerve for one of their guests to suddenly get smashed by a flying refrigerator.
Or when Bubbles showed up.
Oh my word, though. The stress these people must have been under, Moz. I feel my ulcers flaring up just like thinking about it.
Yeah, have another beer.
I'd be in a motel living in the woods or something at this point, too. Yeah. Through the rest of December, the investigators spent every hour observing the Goodin home. and witnessing a litany of inexplicable, apparently paranormal occurrences regularly throughout that time. They gathered an incredible amount of testimony and data, a lot of which you can find in William J. Hall's book, The World's Most Haunted House, as I was saying. It's got transcriptions of interviews, pictures from the scene, direct written testimony from witnesses and investigators. Really is a great book if you want to go deeper into this.
Some of the testimonials, even from the ghosts. You know?
Yeah. The Poltergeist itself was tapping out a 5-star review, man. How many stars you give it? For our purposes, I will just say that thanks to the secondary investigation, the Goodin house became the most witnessed and, more importantly, the best documented poltergeist case in modern history.
Yeah, I would say that.
Numerous people from numerous backgrounds all witnessed these things happening in the Goodin house, and every last one of them was convinced that something beyond the norm was happening. No one who actually witnessed it actually believed it a hoax. This seems to be a rock-solid, lock-it-up, throw-away-the-key case for real-life, full-on, no doubt about it, poltergeist. Not sure how I'm going to handle the skeptic section after that. I'm sure I wrote something. What you got any further thoughts here, Moz? We're about to get into the theory section. You want to ask any questions, add anything, note anything before we get into the actual theories?
No, I mean, it's, like I said, Ed and Lorraine Warren they bring a lot of, credence to it, but they also bring some more to it. Some baggage.
The problem is they bring the circus with them everywhere they go. That's
they bring
really
baggage. Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't.
But the police reports, if they're there and they exist.
The way he approaches it and stuff, I'm not saying they're not actual paranormal investigators or anything like that. Like, they're there for that reason.
Yeah.
But they have to bring the press. They have to make it a zoo.
Well, no, right.
And that it makes it hard to really do what they're there to otherwise do in a proper way.
Helpful or hurtful, right?
Yeah, don't let anyone who doesn't need to know about it until you actually figure out what's going on maybe next time.
Yeah.
Because when the press show up, the people get on their last nerve and they start in one word, the kid tried to do something, and it's a hoax, and then it's just a hoax forever.
I've seen the movies, and Ed and Lorraine Warren never have the press around them. They're just trying to help, but that's not real life.
Welcome to Hollywood. Welcome to Hollywood, Maz.
Yeah. And Night Owl plays Ed in a couple of those.
Yeah. And in the book, I see how they, the actual investigative part, you see what they're doing. It's like they seem totally legit. But why do you got to bring the press? You call the press before you even get there.
No, I gotcha.
Before you even really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my commentary on that. Where was I? Okay, so I'm going to dive into the theories here. I have a couple quick ones, a couple big ones, a couple I actually just came up with on the fly while we were discussing it. I love when that happens. And one pretty intriguing ahu guano. So we got a few things to go through here. Going with these, here's where we'll start. Going with the assumption that all this proof makes it true.
Mm-hmm.
The first theory one may go to is the ghost of Jerry Jr. I mentioned this in passing.
And how old, this is a 4 or 5 year old?
He was 6, if I remember right, when he passed. Or just before his 6th birthday, a little before his 6th birthday, I think it was. So the son that died all too soon, regardless. But he was born on Halloween.
Yeah.
And you could almost set your calendar that the happenings, if they had lulled, would begin again just after that mark in November, remember November? And run through the holidays, usually petering out a bit come the new year.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until Marcia arrived that the odd little happenings turned into big, scary types of strangeness, and Marcia always seemed to be the target of the more violent attacks.
So explain again, the anniversary in November relates to Junior. How?
He was born on Halloween. So it's like right after his birthday every year.
Oh, right. So yeah.
Because as soon as you hit November, things would start getting crazy again.
Yeah. So it ramps up right then.
Yeah, that's when it starts building up, is right after his birthday. And it wasn't until Marcia arrived that the odd little things turned into big, scary types of strangeness.
And she's how old in the adopted daughter, right?
Yeah, she was 10 when the real stuff started.
Gotcha. So the dynamic between the past child and the adopted child.
Right. That's what this theory gets at. Because Marcia also seemed to be the target of the more violent attacks. Like we were saying, the chair flipping over backwards, trying to throw her under the chair and all that.
Yeah.
On multiple occasions that happened.
I've been thrown under the bus. That's even worse.
There was also the multiple bathroom incidents where the whole room went crazy and like exploded around her.
We've all been there.
Right? I mean, could this be coming from a jealousy streak in Junior? Like, you're in my territory. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, there's a connection between the two, and that connection is both. That's the power dyad.
Right.
And I mean, the kid was never hurt. I think the two were playing.
Right.
You know,
because like and
she's a potential daughter of a shaman. Like, what was that connection?
The grandfather, talking to the grandfather on the astral plane.
But the grandfather was a shaman. I mean,
well, she said, and this is a kid talking to a kid.
Yeah, but that's still she said.
But she said her grandfather was some kind of chief.
Yeah,
she
not
said
shaman,
that.
Chief.
She said some kind of chief who she could talk to that way.
Right.
I put in probably some kind of medicine man if he's actually talking on the astral plane with his distant granddaughter,
Yeah.
Which actually, this is next on my list. This takes us into the angry grandfather theory.
Yeah. So if the kid passed away and was angry at the adoptive daughter, then you have a chief protecting her, and you have this big battle ensuing.
Right.
Which is going to wreck the furniture.
Right. Mark, I'm going to requote this little bit here. Marcia said she was talking to her grandfather. She missed him very much and related that he was quite upset about her being away. He was a respected chief on the reservation, and he was extremely unhappy that she had been taken away from him by the Goodins.
So he's still alive?
Well, I mean, if we take her at her word, yes.
Okay.
But it's a kid talking to a kid.
No, I get it.
But it's weird that she would just be doing that. Right. And this girl walks in and she's doing that. She's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm talking to my grandfather."
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems a little too conniving for her to like really formulate that in the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's a huge dynamics all around.
Right, right. But that brings us to, I'm actually going to add in the ones I thought of along the way here. So, if you remember one of the very first things when we met Marcia, one of the things they said specifically about her family was she had spent time tied to a chair.
Sounds like a Tarantino film.
And they had 8 other kids that they kept. They gave her up for adoption. It makes me wonder if maybe, if you want to go down the road of it was Marcia, and even inadvertently causing this, her own energies causing this. Was she causing this kind of stuff going on in her original house? And they thought that maybe tying her up would stop it somehow?
Wow.
And in that chair that she was tied to...
It means you have no idea about poltergeist experience if you're physically tying someone in a chair.
Or like things were moving around crazy, things were getting broken, and they all were
thought it was her.
Convinced it was her, so they tied her up to see if it was her or not, but then things kept happening.
Right.
But they were still convinced it was her, probably. Yeah. But
in
my question, too, is if left in that chair long enough, desperate enough to try to get out, get some water, get to the bathroom, something like that, would she maybe have tried to flip herself over backwards to try to break out, and maybe in the process give herself some nasty, like, brain injury?
Yeah, and a lot of things happen in the bathroom as well. So
yeah, and it's around her. It does
around her.
Focus around her, kind of. It's not. She's not always there, but like her TV was one of the first big things to start moving. Was her TV in her room?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that, and this really feeds right into this next one I'm going to talk about. This is where we start getting into the deep end of the theory section. This is the returning theory we touched upon earlier. We actually got into this kind of more deeply in the side trail of episode 26, the Alma Fielding episode, this theory courtesy of Dr. Nandor Fodor. Mm-hmm. What we were talking about earlier, recently portrayed by Simon Pegg and Nandor Fodor in The Talking Mongoose.
Yeah.
Good film, man.
I got that one wrong. Really I got that wrong. It still makes me mad.
Yeah. We had to old business that before. Yeah. But Fun movie. Wonderful little film, I guess I would say. It's British after all. But here we have the theory originated by Dr. Fodor, a theory which culminated with his investigation into the Alma Fielding poltergeist back just before World War II breakout. So he was a real forerunner in this new way of thinking in the realm of parapsychology. Ended up working with Sigmund Freud, if you remember. He became a real thing. This theory, though, essentially boils down to this. People, especially people who have suffered trauma, and particularly young females going through puberty, can generate intense energy fields that can directly affect the physical world. In extreme cases, these effects can take the form of what we would refer to as poltergeist activity, the sort of activity witnessed in the Goodin house throughout the 70s.
Common trope, yep.
Common trope. And I feel like some creeping misogyny, ageism kind of stuff getting in there, but at the same time, kind of a solid theory in its way.
That's my favorite Lovecraft short story, The Creeping Misogyny.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the women didn't like it as much.
Yeah. Creepy misogyny's become popular again, unfortunately. This, of course, would put the line... So this, of course, would put the lion's share of the blame on Marcia, like they did with the whole hoax thing. So, kind of in a different way there, same thing in the end. But when you get into it, it goes deeper than that. It wasn't just Marcia with past trauma and fluctuating hormonal states. The Goodins both were suffering PTSD of their own from losing a child.
Right.
And Laura had just lost her ability to have more children. She actually had a medical procedure shortly after that was scheduled to take place before Junior died, very shortly after Junior died, for the removal of her uterus. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm formulating a theory.
So I'm sure it had an impact on her state of being, both mentally and hormonally.
Yeah.
So put this together with her smothering parenting style, never letting Marcia out of her sight, and Marcia penting up an ever-building rage toward Laura because of it.
Yeah.
You can see how these energies in the Goodin house might have gotten supercharged and conflicting energies pressing up against each other long enough. You know what I mean? Like everything's supercharging in the wrong direction.
Can I say my whole guano real quick?
Please.
Helicopter parents causes helicopter in-house and just blows everything around.
Helicopter parenting equals helicopter refrigerator.
Yes.
I like it.
There you go.
I like it. But in this case, if Nandor Fodor was actually onto something, it could have been the case that the whole family was actually giving off the energy that was making it all happen, and especially Laura and Marcia playing off each other.
That's my other theory.
Yeah. It's almost like they became their own ghosts, became their own invaders, guilty of tormenting themselves as much outwardly as inwardly.
Well, Jung often talks about the group dynamic and the collective unconscious and the role of the trickster and the different archetypes that surface. This is a soup of people that have their own darkness that, again, becomes this, polter soup.
And again, I'm letting the kind of subtle misogyny creep in on me, blaming Laura and Marcia. Jerry, too, would have had the PTSD. He lost the kid. He was just as suffering from that as anyone else. And he was supporting the family so well. He had the Marcian Catholic school, which definitely, she was way happier there and stuff. And then he gets his hours cut at work. He's making less money, can't support his family as well. She ends up in public school, way worse with the bullying and stuff there. So I'm sure, his pressure, too, you add it all up.
Did they make money off this in the end?
No. They didn't even really want anything to do with it.
No, that's what it sounded like.
This went away.
Making sure. Yeah.
William J. Hall might be the only one who really ever put this out again. Once it got called a hoax and shut down, it's done.
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, and that's a point I made early on too. I made sure to say it early on. These people had no interest in being public figures.
No, I get that.
And they, their mind wasn't on money. They were totally fine in their little bubble. They had their life set up. They were good.
Yeah.
But this brings us to my favorite theory. This is what I like to call the bumping membranes theory.
Ooh.
We've been discussing this concept of interdimensionality quite a bit lately here at MLT. Seems it is lining up as a main variable in our equation of the paranormal theory of everything we're building. This episode's no different. The question here is, could the Goodin house have been located on what was essentially a dimensional fault line?
A ley line.
Yeah. First, let's go back to a little thing I mentioned earlier that you noted is interesting at the time. In many instances, there seemed to be something off with the sound of things. Remember that? Things too loud, things too soft?
Yeah. Intermittent.
Yeah, like weird distortions of sound. Like little things made huge noise, big things that fell hard made almost no noise, things like that. There are numerous examples of this found throughout that record we were talking about. Here's a quote from the fire chief, Jack Messina. Quote, "Everyone heard a big bang from the kitchen and found that the heavy portable TV had fallen with no one in the room. It slammed down with a noise much bigger than just gravity. It was like it was pushed hard." There's another quote from William Hall's book. "To those who had been watching, it was quite evident what had happened. The fridge had moved itself out a bit from the wall, floated into the air, turned, and then returned to the floor in the slightly rotated position. There had been no noise associated with any aspect of the activity. Complete silence, no vibrations or other sounds." Here's another quote. "The kitchen table would regularly fall over, and one end would lean on a chair or make its way past the chair to the floor. The chairs would fall away from the table, landing on their backs on the floor without any warning and without any noise before they moved. None of it was producing vibrations or shaking the floor."
I haven't come across anything like that.
Isn't that weird?
Because what we talk about here the most is how everything seems to be the same. This is a new thing.
Is it something messing with local vibrations, maybe?
Well, I'm saying, though, that I haven't heard even people second-handedly dealing with a phenomenon like that happens.
Yeah.
Like, this is loud things that end up being quiet, and quiet things that end up being loud, and everything's intermittent.
This was new to me, too. It's why it caught my attention so much.
Yeah.
But based on this, I theorized that the Goodin house was in some sort of thin place where the membranes of the multiverse, like brain theory, M theory, whatever you want to call it, are actively intersecting. This may explain the way those big heavy TVs would very gently lower themselves face down on the floor or spin themselves on the shelves. Could this be a reaction to an alternate gravity sneaking in and putting them on a slightly different spin, a slightly different plane where one becomes different from ours, where up is now that way instead of this way?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the M theory is that they're rubbing against each other, causing a little quake.
Yeah. Like
as they pass each other.
It's very vortexy in a way, but it's like a four-dimensional time quake, space-time quake. Yeah. Four-dimensional space-time quakes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I wasn't even looking at my notes. Next sentence in my notes. I theorized that what the Goodin house was experiencing were essentially 4D space-time quakes.
There you go. There you go. Caught up. You've caught up with yourself.
You don't, and this is...
Were you there when you caught up with yourself?
This is my favorite part. I actually started developing this theory as I was reading the book, and then towards the back where they have the stuff from other people, like giving their personal testimonies. Mm-hmm. You don't have to take my word for this. Let me present Mr. Paul F. Eno. He was one of the guys who was around the first team and unfortunately got kicked out with the rest of them because this was maybe the one guy that was serious about it or like really into it. Lifelong professional paranormal investigator who was present for a lot of the happenings. He actually totally got my back. Can we get some mad cujos from Mr. Eno, please? Damn boy! Thank you, me. Mr. Eno wrote a piece of the William Hall book. I read some of Mr. Eno's own words to you now. This is my favorite part. More and more physicists and philosophers are embracing in one form or another a vision of the multiverse, a product of the bizarre branch of physics known as quantum mechanics. Theoretically, the multiverse contains all possible possibilities, all in concrete reality, somewhere or somewhen, but all existing simultaneously. In this view, the world most of us live our conscious lives in is just one of myriad interactive worlds, inversions of worlds, in which we and every other possible life form live. Not only that, But time and space, past and future, are merely functions of our own consciousness. They have no objective existence. Everything is out there, not only in those myriad worlds, but between them.
Mm-hmm.
By the early 1980s, I was convinced that all paranormal phenomena are forms of overlap and interactions between these myriad worlds and their inhabitants when they share the same physical space. In some cases, they even seemed to be interactions between various versions of ourselves in parallel worlds. Why did so many ghosts I ran into fear the residents I was trying to help, thinking that the latter were ghosts haunting them? Why did so many UFO cases involve ghost sightings and even cryptids in the same areas and vice versa? This is like Bradshaw Ranch. Why did so many spirits have physical characteristics, some unlike any creature we know in our world? Why did people sometimes see ghosts of themselves? Why do cases, if an investigator thinks to look, almost always involved multiple homes in the same area? We're going to get more into that later. Actually, in the side trail, the multiverse theory explained virtually everything in the paranormal, especially from my perspective in the trenches. The results of applying this understanding to paranormal cases have been astounding. So hold on to your socks and pull, because I believe that what happened on Lindley Street is a lot weirder than RSPK or evil spirits.
Dang. So that was the bringing it on home moment.
That's right near the end of the book, and I had this theory built, and I read that. I'm like, I love this guy.
Yeah. Just validation.
Like, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I think we talked about this. I hate it when I think of something, and then I read it later, and I'm like, oh, now I have to give him credit. Sometimes I don't even say I thought of that independently. You just want to, I give you credit. You're like, hey, I'm being validated. I came up with this idea, and someone else thinks this way. And I'm just all ego-driven, and I just like finding people like-minded because it happens so seldomly for me. There you go. But you know what it made me think of when you talk about this? We just did the gin thing, and I don't know what the science behind. I know string theory turned into M theory. Strings are the different dimensions. M was more the layers. But hang on. So the way that Rosemary Ellen Guiley described it, and I don't know where she got this exactly, was, and we talked about this, is these films over each other, these membranes, and they move with you. So we think we're in this separate whole dimension, but the reality is everything's just sloshing around us. And if those things rub against each other and get hung up or whatever, you could have these little quakes or spillage or a weak cell membrane. If it's like that, where they're just kind of that thin places as they rub against each other, causes these moments where areas and periods of time where we get this shakeage and quakeage,
Which brings me back to the other theory I had in real time while we were going through this episode, when you said, why only one end of the couch?
Yeah. Sectional.
What if it's like vortexy and there's these little like whirlwinds of energy that can be very centralized,
right?
And like
specific
literally
area.
Just that one little spot that end of the couch was
swirling.
sitting on was getting affected and nothing else in that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very localized.
Yeah. So. And then it gets bigger, and it really does have that kind of vortexy, but like volcano style vortex kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
And in a way, portally, it's almost like gravities are overlapping and spinning things funny. Like, because gravity can distort sound too. If the sound's traveling at weird angles through your space, you're going to, get Doppler effects and things like that.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden there's no gravity between you and the noise, it's going to be, be louder.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like, it can do weird bendings of space. You never know if this stuff's really like 4-dimensional tears in space-time or space-time quakes kind of stuff, if you really want to go down that wormhole.
Yeah. And the fact that it's kind of like noisy, not noisy, I was thinking it's more of a poltergeist, because it's kind of stopping, it's starting. It's, we can coin a new phrase here. If you work with me right now. If you really go with me right now.
Let's go, Maz.
Let's go. No, it's a semi, it's the intermittence of this and the loud being loud being quiet and the quiet being loud, to me, is something I haven't come across yet. Now, I'm not exploring the ghost side as much.
Ooh, I wonder if some kind of crazy Moz episode will grow out of that.
Yeah,
concept.
I think about these tropes and trends, and when I see them again, they pop.
This is why we have a podcast.
I have not seen this one. So
yeah, that's definitely the one really new aspect of this to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was so intense and so many witnesses and so much documented recordings of everything that was going on and all that.
Yeah.
It's the most and nobody who was there, not one of the cops, firemen, official, I said, I'm kind of repeating myself.
Not a lot of debunking.
No one thought it a fake.
Right.
Every other one of these I go into, somebody's, that's not, and they have an argument for it. Like the Alma Fielding thing, you really, you can believe what was...
Amityville Horror.
I kind of ended up in the middle on Alma Fielding, honestly.
And Amityville Horror.
Amityville Horror, same thing. Yeah, this is the most undeniable case of this I've probably ever seen.
Yeah. If he has all the police reports in the back of that book, that is impressive.
Oh, yeah. There's not that many of them got written because they did want to sweep it under the rug.
Exactly. They got to stop. We're not doing this anymore.
But there's a few...
Pensions are on the line.
Yeah. There's a few full-on official police reports in there. They're the refrigerator just floating across the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's in there, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I have a theory on that one, too, is it could have been Indiana Jones trying to get out after the explosion. He survived in a refrigerator.
Oh, yeah.
That was the timing.
That was the nuclear bomb one.
Yeah. So that was during a test. During a test. Probably earlier.
Because that was that the Kingdom 70s. Of the Crystal Skull?
Yeah.
The movie that shall not be named.
No, I liked all of them to some degree. So.
I haven't even seen the last one, although I really should because it's got to do with time travel. I like anything having to do with time travel.
Yep. Him and Marty get on a train.
Yeah. So let me get back to this though. We'll get back on point.
No.
This whole 4-dimensional time quake thing. There is one hole in it here. Because one of the things he did mention specifically was the area effect kind of thing. I think I did mention this real quick earlier, but we're actually going to focus on that a lot in the side trail. Because you'll find out there that the Goodins weren't the only family in the neighborhood whose house seemed to have a mind of its own sometimes. So make sure you join us at patreon.com/monsterlore tour to listen to the side trail immediately following the episode. It's only $1 a month. $1 a month. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for the next side trail compilation to go public. I think that's next week, just to be honest with it. But, give us a buck. Listen
Sometimes
to it now.
It's a lot later. We are ahead more so than...
No, I know the schedule. We just did... What was it? We had the Christmas and New Year's now, this one. So then the next one's the side trails.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did the future ones go? Do you know that?
Oh, splendid.
Almighty. Did they go good?
Splendidly.
Was that funny? Did I sound smart?
The next side trail compilation after that, from the next 3 episodes we haven't recorded yet, fantastic.
I'm so excited.
Which is a perfect lead into our Ahu Guano theory of the week. Oh no, here it comes.
Quick, to the batshit signal.
Today's Ahu Guano, brought to you by
Bolton Madley.
This is actually mine. This is our craziest Ahu Guano giant bat shitty theory of the week. This is the weirdest part. This is actually a guest theory. I'm not sure I've ever tapped into someone else's brain for an Ahu Guano before, actually. I'm pretty sure I've always written them straight up out of my own craziness.
We're going to need a braid sample. Okay.
But there's a good reason why Mr. Paul F. Eno, who just backed me up on the whole 4D space time quakes thing, got the Mad Cujos a bit ago, for he's also the source of this Ahu Guano theory.
Nice.
So remember to hold on to those socks and pull, everybody.
Yeah.
As he said before, this might blow your socks off. I present the interdimensional parasite theory. Dun, dun, dun.
You're jumping way ahead to Monstrous Microcosm.
Oh, you might have to work this back in then.
You can't be doing this.
Quote, among the denizens of the multiverse, my son and I run into all the time in our paranormal work are what we call parasites. These seem to be life forms of 9 or more different species that can move between parallel worlds and feed upon certain energies produced by humans and others when in states of anger, fear, hatred, isolation, and other divisive conditions. And I am convinced that parasites are spirits, as I've had physical altercations with them. They often work in packs. They learn quickly. They have leadership, and I've seen them farming individuals, families, and even communities as food sources, sometimes for generations. Jin, jin, jin. I even found them working in several parallel worlds at the same time. The more they eat, the stronger they get. Given our very limited framework of knowledge, I can see how parasites easily joined human folklore early on as demons, vampires, and even space aliens. The Lindley Street case was, in my opinion, a textbook case of parasite attack. Is this the gin again, Moss? Or are you just horrified to see me?
Yeah. It sounds like everything. We're doing monstrous I'm going to have to, this parasite dimensional theory that you,
right?
Interdimensional theory. I'm going to have to look into that because I'm writing an episode that's very similar. And again, Wetico, Paul Levy's Wetico sounds like this. Castaneta's Inorganic Beings sound like this. Everything seems to sound like this.
The footlickers from the gin episode just before this one.
Yeah, and there's a back to psychic vampires just in general. But Colin Wilson has the Mind Parasites, which is a fictional little novella that really captures the essence of these things that are there, and then we become aware of you, and you can't notice them, and they notice you. And honestly, yeah.
Well, according to William Burroughs, our very language itself is an invasive virus that tore us out of our natural place and things.
Right. So that was a software upgrade that malfunctioned to some degree. Something malfunctioned. And again, that's what Wetico points to. That in some ways, that's what William S. Burroughs is pointing to. That's what this interdimensional parasite theories, everything's leaning towards parasitic invasions on a multi-dimensional level, on a mind virus level. It makes a lot of sense for why we are what we are, because we don't seem to be very capable of doing anything except if we're a farm and something's feeding on us, we're doing great. We're doing amazingly well.
That's way better than the other choices.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, we're just like, they've grown us to just be exactly what they want. If we're growing little things in a cage that we can eat, they are growing things in a cage that they can suck.
Phrasing, Moz.
Well,
no, it really is. It's like we're their cattle on some level,
Yeah.
Or they're milking cows or whatever.
Yeah. Or are we even free range?
I think we'd make better goats than cows, honestly.
Yeah.
Because we eat everything and we digest better.
I don't even know, man.
Cage-free goat.
Why you got to do... I got to get some of that... You got to give me that reference, because I only have this...
Okay.
I have this coming up in probably a couple episodes.
Yeah, it's... I believe for the monstrous microcosm, I believe it's going to be episode 82.
And we're on what?
This is 73. So
I'm so far behind.
We have a little while.
Not
we
for
got
me.
We got like another round
do
or
a
two
few
before
between
that.
now and then. You have guests coming on, and you do your own damn thing. This is going to happen tomorrow for me. I got to start reading on this stuff. I try to stay ahead of this game. I'm not playing your game.
It's hard making a podcast with people on different timelines like that.
Yeah. No, I work way ahead, and I try to do things, like I try to cover it from all angles.
Yeah.
But this is important to that theory, and it ties right into the fact. I don't know how we got here to just a basic poltergeist story, honestly.
Right.
But at the same time...
This isn't a basic poltergeist, though. That's the thing. This is the world's most haunted house.
The level of energy involved is profound if this happened.
Yeah, it's
But
4D volcano.
again, we're usually dealing with two types of vampires. You got your psychic vampire, your real vampires going for a ghoul sides, going for the flesh. A regular standard classic vampire is going for the blood. That's, the physical world. The psychic vampire is going for your energies.
Right.
But a psychic vampire doesn't need to use the energy it's gaining from us to move refrigerators around, unless it's trying to get in the refrigerator to get like a bologna sandwich.
I have a question you might actually have an answer to, because I feel like some of this has come up somewhere.
I don't know what's in bologna.
Well, what feeds on fear and anxiety and things like that? Because that's a parasitical thing just as much as the energy and whatnot.
The gin, the Wedico, all those things seem to feed on that. What they just said in that quote that we just read is the same idea. The fear contagion, basically. That's the gasoline.
If it comes down to the Wedico, it really kind of is them, because they have this virus that makes their bottled emotions come out with real force like that. Right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
And and the same with the jinn, who are any attack, like even from an astral standpoint. These are all things that they're upsetting, they're frightening. Right. They do these things to evoke a response,
right? And
then they're feeding off of that emotional and cortisol and all those wonderful things that are being released.
Which brings us back to the Ajo Guano theory that started this whole diatribe right here. There's at least 9 different species of those interdimensional or between dimension or whatever they are parasites.
And there's 11. String theory is 11.
One of them probably feeds off that stuff, right? The fear and the anxiety and whatnot.
Yeah. Maybe the membranes themselves balance each other out.
Because as it built,
one builds on love, and the other is on fear.
Their tension and their fear and their anxiety, it's like triggering, almost like if you really start thinking about it. But it built up, and the knocking got louder, and the knocking got louder, and the knocking got more frequent and louder, and crescendo and more frequent.
That's because he killed the guy and he's buried under the floorboards.
But what if it is their own energy coming out to make that, and the more it happens, the more of that energy they have, and so the more it happens, and it's just this cyclical thing. It is like an energy vortex in its way, but it's a negative energy vortex.
And they're all the whole family dynamic in all those dark places, trying to seemingly go on and have a happy existence in their bubble. This bubble created a whirlwind of energy. Yeah.
That was a great Ajo Guano.
There you go. Oh, we're doing Ajo Guano?
That was Ajo. Yeah, I know.
You never know with us.
This is one of those Ajo Guanos. I knew that was going to go somewhere good.
Yeah.
But let's steer this ship back to the shore, though, with a little Sir Richard Scully Muggle Skeptics review.
You're full of crap, and that's the nicest thing that I can say.
So there were a few skeptic approaches to attempting to a debunking of the Goodin House poltergeist. One was to blame the infamous Ed Warren, actually. This is something some people did. There were a number of things you could blame Ed Warren for here. We were talking about this earlier. But blaming him for the poltergeist itself was the angle some took. Here's a quote from the book. A rumor swept through the crowd that Ed Warren had laced the candy with drugs so that everyone was hallucinating and the haunting was a hoax. Drug-induced figments of their imaginations. From there, the rumors became increasingly far-fetched. Perhaps Ed Warren drugged Marcia's candy and used witchcraft to bestow her powers?
That's even worse.
The reasons that non-believers were giving for the whole thing to be a hoax were more preposterous and harder to prove than the actual truth of what was happening. Unquote. So yeah, that's kind of ridiculous, especially since the refrigerator was floating around the kitchen before he ever even knew anything was going on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But there was also one police report that they did release finally that this was a hoax on the police side as a kind of almost a cover-up.
Right.
Is more what it sounds
totally
like.
Cover-up. They just wanted it to go away because they didn't know what to do about it.
But the Scully Muggle would go right to the last page of the report and say, hey, This is the conclusion.
Right.
This police department concluded this. Oh, wait, there's a bunch of appendices in this book of all these police reports of people on hand say differently.
And they were also super quick to write off the whole thing as a hoax when someone saw Marcia trying to tip over her chair to try to get some attention, but that's far from a floating refrigerator. And as I said before, no one present believed the girl could have perpetrated even a fraction of these things as a hoax. So the skeptics had a hell of a time trying to write this one off, really. They were, they told people it was a hoax and they accepted it, but, they knew that wasn't true.
But again, people eating hallucinogenic things probably the best they got for this one, because it was a bunch of people who saw and reported very strange things.
Right.
The Scooby Smack theory.
It was just like, it had an air of undebunkability about it, like there was no way to deny it. But in the end, what's the difference?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, this stuff happened and we call it a poltergeist because giving it a name makes us feel like we know something.
Poltergeist.
Just because we believe we know, does that mean we actually know? I think Jerry Sullivan, mentioned earlier, lead investigator on the Beatty team, the second team that actually got the investigation.
The Warrens
done.
and the Beatties. They made Ishtar together eventually.
But this guy witnessed and documented a lot of events at the Goodin house. I think he said it best. Here's a quote. "It definitely was a poltergeist. But what is that? Does it have to have an explanation to it? Have we lost our sense of wonder that we need to conclude everything? Why not look at it as it is? It's nothing but phenomena. Unexplained phenomena."
Yeah.
It's just UP, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't even get the A. It's just UP.
Yeah.
But that concludes my presentation portion of today's program. Any closing thoughts on anything else before we get into the Wolfman Pucks to wrap it up here, Moss?
I think I tied in what little I could add, but it was a very interesting, and
we had most of the conversation as we went, no doubt.
Yeah. So it doesn't make me want to go to Bridgeport, Connecticut again.
I was in Bridgeport once.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's true, actually. Don't ask me what I was doing there. I'm not going to tell you. It's that kind of town.
It is.
But all right, let's jump into the closing segment, Wolfman Puck's Cryptid Culinary Corner.
Your entree, sir.
Smells good.
So to the Wolfman Puck's kitchen here. The Goodin house has little to offer in the way of cryptid fare for a feast, as you might have noticed. And honestly, that kitchen seems rather hostile anyway.
Yeah.
So what I did, I went out and rustled up a local cryptid from the Bridgeport, Connecticut area.
Ooh.
For the nearly famous and wholly infamous Wolfman Puck to prepare for tonight's feast.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, let me introduce, for your dining pleasure, the Glastonbury Glowacus.
Wow.
Huh?
Is that because of the volcano?
Huh?
The volcano, and then the Glastonbury.
The Glastonbury Glowacus.
That starts to move around like 2 years after the volcano in Bridgewater. I mean, Bridgeport.
Oh, Bridgeport.
I went a little north.
No, this is actually way predates it. This guy's been around this area for a while.
Well, do explain.
Here is an excerpt from damnedconnecticut.com about the Glastonbury Glowacus. The damned story is how it opens. I imagine they all do because it's damned Connecticut. You get it? All right. The damned story. In 1939, a mystery creature terrorized Glastonbury and surrounding areas, attacking livestock and pets. It was never caught or properly identified and consequently became a Connecticut legend. The Glowacus. Hunters, farmers, and eyewitnesses reported the fierce animal originally as a huge cat. But as it remained elusive, the descriptions became more detailed, which only embellished the creature's fast-growing reputation. Here you go. It was variously described as part dog, part bear, and part cat, but all terror.
But this isn't a poltergeist. You're just cryptoing me.
We just need something to eat while we watch the refrigerator.
You don't want to
dance.
eat a ghost.
Right. No, we've done that. We've been there, done that. I needed some meat. I need some protein after all that investigating.
But I have this patented thing when we do ghosts with Slimer, and it tastes like hot dogs. That's all I'm ever going to say.
Right.
Yeah. So we
did it before.
So you want to do something different. Yeah. Okay.
So this thing is some weird predatorial animal
from Connecticut.
From Glastonbury. The Glastonbury Glowacus. I love that name. But so part dog, part bear, and part cat, but all terror.
It's like man, dog, pig or something.
Man, bear, pig.
Man, bear, pig.
Yeah,
Yes.
except dog, bear, cat.
Yeah.
It's dog, bear, cat.
Gotcha. That's a lot of totems.
So, I ask you, Moz, how you going to prepare this beast? This beastly
So wait.
feast. This feast of a beast.
So you're hitting. I'm unprepared, and now I'm even more unprepared.
I didn't write anything here either.
Yeah. So we got a man, bear, pig.
I was hoping you'd go first so I could think for a minute.
No, that's awful.
I wrote this like last night.
Okay. So here's the thing. The kitchen is very hostile.
Yeah, we don't have to eat it at the Goodin house.
My family moved to the motel about page 2. So we're in the motel, and across the motel is a Wendy's, and we're just going to go eat at Wendy's tonight. There's my Wolfman Puck.
That might be a good call.
Yeah. We don't want to eat man. We don't want to eat bear. Maybe pig. Obviously.
Well, it's dog, bear, cat.
Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds... Yeah, I would... No, that sounds worse. That's even more domestic animals.
Yeah, this isn't going to go well.
This is like pets.
Because another reason I was hoping you'd come up with something first is because I ate bear once and almost died because it's my totem animal. And I'm not going to eat dog or cat. So I'm not going to eat this. Like, I'm not even going to fathom how you would go about eating this. Let's put it that way.
I got it.
I do have a beer, though. Can I do a beer?
You do a beer, and I'm going to say how we're going to serve it.
Oh, good. For tonight's beer,
that's not from Connecticut. You just picked the beer up in front of you.
What we're drinking right now.
But it's not from Connecticut.
I have to give these guys a shout out. It's the only reason I'm doing this. From Bonehouse Brewing and
thousands of miles from Connecticut.
Little known.
2,300 miles from Connecticut.
In little known Fountain Hills, Arizona. The Greed of Fisk and Gould Maple Chocolate Imperial Stout. It's what got me through this episode.
Okay, but it's not from Connecticut. We've established that. Yeah. This Wolfman Puck's going to be very upset with us for this one, I think. It's a Poltergeist.
He's going to do a lot of swearing, Moz.
Yeah.
Like that guy on TV.
All right, since you botched the beer, let me botch. I'm thinking what I would do with this man, bear, cat, dog, pig.
Bear, cat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am going to bury it in a pet cemetery.
But all terror.
So when it comes back out, it's going to be like but I'm going to heat up the whole air. I'm going to heat up the coffin. It goes back in there. So it's like a twice baked man, bear, pig, cat.
It's a javelina roast.
Yeah. It's like a luau. We're going to have a luau.
Or even like an old school clam bake when you bury it in the beach.
Oh my God. That's terrible. Like if you throw clam in with this, it's even. Come on. All right, Wolfman Puck will not be seen tonight. The segment is now broken.
I was just getting hungry, and I am not hungry anymore.
Nope.
We broke Wolfman Pucks.
We did.
I don't think we've ever done that before.
No.
We've broken every other thing we've ever done.
This one was bad
at some point or another.
But we both didn't prepare.
Just remember, if there's
you can't just pick up the beer you're drinking and make that the beer you're pairing it with. You've done that before. You're like, I'm drinking this. It's called Miller. I'm going to serve Miller.
You're not supposed to tell anyone about the Miller High Life.
Yeah, we have that's our secret.
Seriously, everybody, if you just want a really good beer, very simple, Miller High Life in the bottle.
Yeah.
Not the can, the bottle.
We always drink craft beers, but once in a while.
That's my guilty pleasure, my cheap beer go-to, the Miller High Life. It has to be the
really
bottle.
Cold.
Really cold.
Yeah. I didn't believe him. It was like a Sam I Am, like green eggs and ham thing. And I'm like, I will not have that in a box. I will not drink that with a fox.
Maz's wife almost divorced him when she saw him walking in with an 18-pack of Miller High Life.
It was a 6-pack. And when I walked in, my wife said, "Who are you and what did you do with my husband?"
Yeah.
I had to explain the story of, no, it's actually not as horrible as one might imagine.
I'm amazed she still likes me.
I wouldn't go that far. But,
well, she at least acts like she likes me.
She's nice. She's all right.
She's very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Off the rails. Sorry about that Wolfman Pucks there, everybody.
Yeah.
The episode went so well, and I think it's because I did throw it off the rails by not focusing on something from the actual episode to eat. But what was to eat? What was to eat?
Find a Connecticut beer, man. I mean, I know it's hard.
Can we eat a flying couch?
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
I should have gone with the concrete swans that animated themselves on the front porch.
Yeah.
Damn it. Too late.
Yep.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, everybody. If we haven't scared you away yet, please hit all those happy little fun buttons on whatever platform you're on, the like, subscribe, share, ringing bells, whatever it may be. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/monsterlore tour. It's just $1 a month to join. You get early access to everything, and it fluctuates. We catch up with ourselves kind of sometimes, but then all of a sudden it'll be 6 weeks ahead again. We record in chunks.
Yeah.
Little secret to podcast life. Play with your timeline as much as you want. It's one of the fun parts of making a podcast, actually.
Yeah. This actually, we didn't record it yet, but we've already aired it.
Yeah, but we'll see you next week for the Side Trail compilation for this and the previous 2 episodes. It's some pretty good stuff in there. Make sure you check it out, and we'll be back the week after with more deep dive madness from the Monster Lore Tour. Till then, to all our fellow paranerdalists out there, have a good one.
Monster Lore Tour Podcast.
Really? Turn your head and cough?